Hi, everyone. This is Sharon Buck, and I'm in a beautiful place here, enjoying the sunshine, and the birds may be competing with me, but I'm happy to be here with you. I hope you can hear me and see me okay. Um, anyway, I wanted to come to you to talk today about feeling safe in ourselves and how this also reflects out in our world in very specific ways. So I'm going to get really specific today, and I have some notes I want to consult, kind of an outline. But I wanted to talk to you about this because it's really the foundation of everything, and it's the foundation of our spine as well. So it's kind of a cool connection between our skeletal system and the way we're built, as well as our lives in our work. So we need to be, first of all, and just talk about creating a safe haven within ourselves. Uh, you know, th- it's so hard to create that when you didn't get that. Many of us struggled when we were growing up, and to find that safe place within ourselves wasn't modeled as much for us. And so finding that place is super difficult. And and really I know no other way to get there except by getting help. and and what that looks like for everybody is different, but I know from my journey I spent many years and continue to, but it can be a really long process. So I want to emphasize to you that it doesn't have to be that long a process, and it can be very deep and a very profound shifts that can happen quickly. So we need to create that safe haven within ourselves. And how do we do that? Well, obviously our health is part of that. Our emotional health, our physical health, are tied. And I talk a lot about this, and I think we know this, but in Western medicine, so much of that is divided up, which is why I think many people seek other approaches, because we've tried everything. You try everything that the traditional medicine or whoever suggests you do, and the truth is it's all connected. So knowing that when we address one part of ourselves, we're addressing the whole part of ourselves at some level. Our health really is our business. So when I talk to entrepreneurs, this is the thing that I think we separate. We think that for some reason, our physical health is not as critical. I don't think we really think that, but sometimes we act like that, where our business has a life of its own. It starts to get a traction of its own, and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, am I running this or is it running me? And so it's really important to take steps back to recalibrate ourselves and to get into balance again. And I know for myself, I've had to do that several times, as you've probably witnessed. I mean, sometimes well, I tend to go live, but sometimes I don't. Or they're shorter lives, or I was doing sound baths every week, and I decided, well, that was getting a bit much, so maybe I'll do every other week. So things like that, just taking care of myself is part and parcel of my business. It literally my business from to myself, and my business as an entrepreneur. So it's super important, and I think you all know about self-care, but there's different approaches and different ways to get there. So some of the physical and emotional issues that happen when we're stuck here, and this is we're talking about root chakra things, the root center, which is the foundation of the skeletal system. And if there's stuff going on at the tailbone, if somebody has had a tailbone injury, or the spine just doesn't line up right, anything from there is going to be cockeyed and not working. And so that has effects everywhere. And of course, there's nerves running up and down there, and the energy just doesn't run efficiently through that system. But in the physical realm, what we experience is chronic lower back pain, often sciatica or arthritis, varicose veins, even things like rectal tumors or cancer can show up, and depression or immune related disorders also. So that's just the physical side if something's out of whack at the root center. The emotional piece here is about safety and rootedness, feeling grounded and secure. This can show up in our family, in groups, in, the tribal setting, who we connect with. Our right livelihood, our ability to provide and take care of ourselves. And that could be, financial, of course. The ability to stand up for yourself, literally, physically, and emotionally. They're tied. Feeling at home in your home life. Do you feel at home when you come home? Or does it feel like an odd, uncomfortable place? And social and familial law and order. So all of that plays into our emotional well-being. And if we're in a place that is not safe in those respects, then it's very difficult to be in congruence and aligned with ourselves, not to mention our business. When things are out of balance, I hear an eagle. I'm going to be tempted to look up, but I'm trying not to. When things are out of balance at the root, we experience internal and external consequences of that imbalance. So, if we had early experiences at home that were chaotic or stressful, if there was addictions going on, all of this will show up in the root chakra. It just wasn't safe to be and safe to be in that household. And so that's our experience, and that colors everything unless we work with it and work to release those blocks. Self-sabotage is really also when we're reenacting our early life experience. It's very subconscious, unconscious, but many of us do this, and it's a way to protect ourselves. And really, we're shooting ourselves in the foot because we're not really getting traction. We're actually caught up in this replay. It's like a movie that keeps replaying. Only we have a way to put a pause on that movie and actually shift some of the scenes, if you like. I kind of like that analogy. I'm just going with the flow here on this. Addictions, we use them. We all know this. We all have addictions of some kind, whether it's sugar or caffeine or drugs or alcohol, work addictions. How am I using this to feel safe so I don't have to address anything? If we're working a lot, if we're overworking, it's very distracting, right? I mean, it's hard to be with your feelings and know what's going on with you if you're constantly busy. And as entrepreneurs, this is a real challenge because we're always working. I mean, that's part of the job. Unfortunately, part of the job description is that we're creating everything. So it's really important to put a pause button on that and realize, wait a minute, some of this can be taken care of later, or it's being taken care of, outside of our control, and letting go of some of that control is really critical. Also, when we're working with grounded, feeling centered and grounded, the balance between doing and being. So again, that's really important, to finding that balance of when do I do things, when do I just sit back and sit in the sunshine and soak up the sun and listen to the bird song and just take that in. I have the advantage of I'm actually working and being at the same time right at this moment. So for me, that's a really wonderful balance. When we're stuck in fear, also we're stuck, right? I mean, we're not moving. So there's some of that messaging stuff that's going on in the background, that says it's not safe. That's an indication that we're not feeling safe. If we're overthinking and overdoing, that keeps us from being in the present moment and feeling centered and grounded. So if we're constantly worrying about our present state or worrying about the future, this is not helpful for us being grounded and rooted in ourselves and being in the present moment. I know this one well. I like to future trip. I do a lot less than I used to. I used to do it all the time. I'd either be worrying about the past, or, obsessing, feeling guilt about the past, or worrying about the future. And which means, of course, we all know that means you're not in the present moment. So it's very hard to connect with people, and it's hard to apply yourself to your work in a healthy way if you're being pulled in either direction. Then there's also the guilt-driven overdoing, like, "Oh, I've got to get this done. I didn't do it last week. Oh, that wasn't good of me." All those judgments that come with it. Some of the other things that show up, um, what this I want to do, but I can't. This feeling of powerlessness that comes with the territory of the root center. So just feeling stuck, not really getting traction in our lives and in our work. Treading water, or whatever that feeling is of just not making progress, perhaps. And another way it shows up is there's no connection between thought and action. That we have these thoughts and these great ideas, but we don't carry through. There's no follow through. And that can also be part of the overthinking, is that we think a lot about it, but we don't actually get traction and get it done. So we've got these spinning wheels, we feel stuck. Another thing that can show up here are eating disorders, because again, if that's an addiction, it's easy to get into. I know this one well as well. I love sugar. And I've actually been off sugar now this is going on 4 weeks. I've been off sugar before for long stretches, but it's so tricky. So just noticing, how we derail ourselves this way. When we're in alignment with ourselves, it begins at the root, at the base of the spine. Everything is aligned. Our thoughts and our actions are connected. We feel safe at home, and we feel safe in our work environment. We stand up for ourselves and ask for what we need and want, literally standing up. And we're in flow. We trust ourselves to give ourselves what we need. That's a big one. It's hard for self-sabotage to survive if we trust ourselves. Self-sabotage comes from that place of fear of being stuck. I know this one, all of this at some level I know really well, because a few decades ago, I really went through a personal crisis of my own where everything was falling apart. And it was just a mess. But when I look back at it now, I see a lot of it was an internal mess that was just playing out externally. So we need to realize that the external is reflecting back what's going on in ourselves. And this isn't just about mindset. This is deeper than that. This is literally how we're programmed, and how we tend to replay again that movie. And so this is a way to rewrite that movie. The work that I do, which is called biofield tuning. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But at that point in my life, everything fell apart. And sometimes it takes that for change, right? I mean, when things really fall apart, we have no choice but to rebuild, but it can be very messy. So nobody wishes that on anybody. But it was a critical turning point for me in my life. And so I went into therapy, and it ended up what I thought was going to be only 6 months that I committed to ended up being 10 years. And then I switched therapists and did another 10 years. I didn't think anything like that would be that long, but that's how it played out for me. Well, how does this relate to entrepreneurs, right? Well, basically, if we can't follow through on our goals and desires, we are short-circuiting the natural flow of our being. If we do not have safety within us, we cannot have a successful business. It's virtually impossible. If we do not take care of ourselves, we suffer instead of thrive in our businesses. We burn out. If we suffer, our businesses suffer. If we don't take care of ourselves, we get burned out, and we're no good to our clients. So we need to learn to press the pause button of our lives and businesses, or we're no good to anyone, including ourselves, not to mention those we love. Another thing I've noticed in this piece about safety, when we're talking about the root chakra, is this the safe to explore idea. which is so critical in our growing up years, and particularly when we're toddlers and when we're teens. When we're teens, we replay what happened a lot. It's just an extension of the toddler period. It's just a more grown up version of toddler, right? And you can see it, right? And we're exploring, and the toddler and the teens, we're exploring who we are, what we like, what we don't like. Is this a safe situation? Can I touch that? Can I play with this? Can I run? How fast can I run without tripping and falling? All of these things. We're just trying out things. And if there was any restriction in that, or too much setting of boundaries or structure, overstructure, there's probably a better word for that, then we don't get to explore in the same way. On the other side, if we don't have a boundary around structure and we just get to do whatever the heck we want, we don't learn how to rein that in and how to bring balance into our lives. So this is from Jean Ilsley Clark's book. If you don't know it, I recommend it. It's called Growing Up Again. And it's about the nurture structure highway. And it's so critical in growing up. But here we are as adults. None of us had perfect upbringings. And so we need to rework that. And how do we do that? Well, I'll tell you, when we start to work on this place of creating more safety and security in ourselves, we begin to see that the world is a less threatening place. It starts inside. If we don't feel safe inside, how can we feel safe anywhere? And then we start to see the world is an adventurous place, and that it's actually easier to have and build a safe connection with people and to team up with others and facilitate connection, releasing the bound up energy pockets that hold us back from being alive and just vibrant beings in this world, which we're totally meant to be. I mean, just like nature. I mean, nature thrives, a lot on its own if we don't interfere with it. So we bring more energy to our entire system, not just our physical body, our emotional body, and then our entire world shifts. Well, if any of this speaks to you, I want to say that the work that I do is very much working to unblock those knots, to untie those knots, and very quickly with sound, using sound that not only detects the blockage, but actually works to release it by feeding positive frequency. And if you want to do some research on this, there's science being done, in fact, as we speak, showing the validity of this approach. But our bodies want coherence. We want health. That's where our bodies want to go if we don't interfere. So I work with sound to do that. And if this is speaking to any of you, you can type in the chat, get clarity, and you can get on or chat, type a message in the messenger and just send me a message and say, I'd love to get on a call with you. I have a free 30-minute call that works really well, where I can find a block in your system using tuning forks. I can find where the block is. If there's several, obviously we'll have to pick the most obvious one, and then actually do some releasing of that. And you can experience this work very briefly. I can pretty much guarantee I haven't had maybe one person in the whole time I've done this work say they didn't feel anything. And even if you don't feel anything, there's a shift. It's pretty powerful work. So if you're interested, reach out to me and I'd be happy to get on a call with you. We can find out what's blocking you in your life and in your business and release some of that so you're more aligned with your life's, your passion. And then don't forget that we have a sound bath coming up this Sunday. So on Sunday at 4:00 Pacific time, you can join me live, which I love to do, share my beautiful alchemical crystal bowls, bring in some of this beauty of nature in sound, Sound and nature go together so beautifully. And if you can't make it live, catch the replay. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I always like to know what you're up to, if this speaks, what you're looking for, and I'd love to support you as I know how to the best of my abilities. So I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy wherever you are, and hopefully I'll see you Sunday, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks so much for chiming in, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now.